Ladies and gentlemen, let me ask you something. Who are you? I'm not talking about the name your mama gave you. I'm not talking about your job title or where you're from. I'm asking, when you look in the mirror, do you recognize the person staring back at you? Understanding who you are is the cornerstone of everything you do in life. Identity isn't just a buzzword, a philosophical concept. It's the foundation upon which all your actions, decisions, and achievements are built. Think of it like this. If your life is a skyscraper, your identity is the blueprint. Without a solid blueprint, you'll either build something that collapses under pressure or spend years creating something that doesn't even reflect what you wanted in the first place. Here's the deal. Many people go through life without ever truly understanding themselves. They take on the role society gives them: student, employee, parent, partner, without stopping to ask, who am I outside of these roles? What do I stand for? What drives me? These questions might feel big and uncomfortable, but they're necessary if you want to live a life that's meaningful and aligned with your true potential. When you don't know who you are, you're like a ship without a compass. You drift wherever the wind blows, letting external circumstances dictate your path. One day you're motivated and excited because things are going well. The next you're down and defeated because you hit a roadblock. This lack of direction isn't just frustrating, it's exhausting. Life becomes a constant reaction to what happens around you instead of a deliberate journey toward your goals. Knowing your identity gives you clarity. It helps you understand what matters to you, what you're willing to fight for, and what you need to let go of. When you have that clarity, decision-making becomes simpler. You're no longer torn between what's popular and what's right for you because you've already defined your values. For example, if honesty is a core part of your identity, you won't compromise your integrity for a quick win. If growth is important to you, you'll embrace challenges instead of avoiding them, even when they're uncomfortable. One of the biggest misconceptions about identity is that it's fixed. People think this is who I am and I can't change it. But that's not true. While certain aspects of your personality and preferences might be consistent, your identity is something you can shape and refine over time. Think about it. The person you were at 15 isn't the person you are now. Your experiences, relationships, and choices have all contributed to who you've become. And the same is true moving forward. You have the power to decide what kind of person you want to be and take the necessary steps to become that person. But shaping your identity requires intentionality. It's not enough to say, I want to be confident or I want to be successful. You have to dig deeper. Why do you want those things? What are those things? And more importantly, what are you willing to do to embody them? For example, if you want to be known as someone who's disciplined, you can't just hope for discipline to appear one day. You have to start practicing it, waking up early, sticking to your commitments, and doing the hard things even when you don't feel like it. Another important aspect of identity is recognizing the difference between who you are and what you do. Your job, your achievements, and your social roles are all part of your life, but they don't define you. This distinction is crucial because it frees you from tying your self-worth to external outcomes. For instance, if you define yourself solely by your career, what happens if you lose your job? If your identity is wrapped up in being a parent, what happens when your kids grow up and move out? By grounding your identity in your values and character rather than external factors, you create a sense of self that's resilient and adaptable. However, understanding your identity isn't just about introspection, it's also about action. You can spend hours journaling about your values and dreams, but if your daily actions don't align with them, it's all for nothing. Your identity is shaped by what you do consistently, not what you think or say. If you believe in kindness but treat people poorly, your actions are telling a different story. If you see yourself as ambitious but spend your time procrastinating, you're not living in alignment with that identity. This is why habits are so powerful. Every small action you take reinforces your sense of self. When you choose to exercise instead of skipping the gym, you're reinforcing the identity of someone who values health and discipline. When you follow through on a promise, even if it's inconvenient, you're reinforcing the identity of someone who's reliable and trustworthy. Over time, these small actions add up, creating a solid foundation for your identity. It's also important to surround yourself with people who support and challenge your identity. The people in your life act as mirrors, reflecting back your values and behaviors. If you're surrounded by negativity and complacency, it's hard to stay motivated and focused. But if you're surrounded by people who push you to be your best, who remind you of your goals and hold you accountable, it becomes much easier to stay aligned with your true self. This doesn't mean you need to cut off everyone who isn't perfectly aligned with your vision, but it does mean being intentional about who you allow to influence you. Another trap to avoid is defining your identity based on other people's expectations. It's easy to fall into the habit of trying to please others or live up to societal standards, but this only leads to frustration and dissatisfaction. True fulfillment comes from living authentically, from being the person you were created to be, not the person others want you to be. This requires courage because it often means going against the grain or disappointing people who have their own ideas about who you should be. But in the end, it's worth it because it allows you to live a life that's true to yourself. Lastly, understanding your identity is a continuous process. You don't wake up one day and have it all figured out. Life will constantly challenge you, forcing you to re-examine your values and priorities. You'll have moments of doubt and uncertainty, and that's okay. The key is to stay committed to the journey. Keep asking yourself, who am I becoming? And make adjustments as needed. Remember, growth isn't linear. There will be setbacks and detours. But each one is an opportunity to learn and strengthen your sense of self. In conclusion, understanding your identity is the foundation for a purposeful and fulfilling life. It's not something that's handed to you or something you can figure out overnight. It's a journey of self-discovery, intentional action, and continuous growth. By taking the time to define who you are and aligning your actions with that identity, you can create a life that reflects your true potential. And when you do that, you're not just living, you're thriving. Your actions are the truest reflection of who you are, as they are the bridge between your values and your identity. Every decision you make and every step you take is a testament to what you prioritize and believe in. When your actions consistently align with your core values, they not only define you, but also affirm the principles you stand by. It is through this alignment that true self-identity emerges, offering clarity and authenticity in every aspect of your life. It doesn't matter what you say, what you think, or what you claim to believe. At the end of the day, it's your behavior, the choices you make, and the things you consistently do that defines your identity. To think about it, how many people talk about wanting to be successful, disciplined, or hardworking? But how many of them actually back those words up with consistent action? That's the difference between intention and identity, between dreaming about who you want to be and actively becoming that person. Actions speak louder than words because they are tangible. They leave no room for interpretation. You can tell yourself, I'm a person who values health, but if you're eating junk food every day and skipping workouts, your actions tell a different story. You can say, I want to be financially independent, but if you're spending recklessly and avoiding the discipline of saving, then your behavior is pointing you in another direction. Words are cheap, but actions require effort, discipline, and commitment. They are the evidence of who you truly are. One of the most powerful truths about actions is that they are entirely within your control. No matter what your circumstances are or what obstacles you face, you have the ability to choose how you respond. This is where real power lies. External factors might influence your situation, but your actions determine the outcome. Every day, you have the opportunity to make choices that align with the person you want to become. The question is, are you making those choices, or are you letting life happen to you? Consistency is key. It's not about what you do once or twice. It's about what you do repeatedly over time. A single great effort might impress people for a moment, but it's the daily grind, the small, often unnoticed actions that build the foundation of your identity. For example, if you want to be seen as reliable, it's not enough to show up on time for one important meeting. You need to be punctual and dependable every day. If you want to be known as someone who's dedicated, it's not enough to work hard for 1 week and then slack off. True dedication is shown in the way you show up consistently, even when it's inconvenient or when no one is watching. This brings us to an important point. The actions that define you are often the ones you take when nobody else is looking. It's easy to put on a show when there's an audience, but the real measure of your character is what you do in private. Are you still working hard when no one is there to praise you? Are you still holding yourself accountable when there's no one to call you out? These unseen actions are the building blocks of integrity. They are what separate those who merely talk about being great from those who actually achieve greatness. Every action you take sends a message to yourself about who you are. When you follow through on a commitment, no matter how small, you're telling yourself, I'm a person who keeps promises. When you push through a difficult task instead of giving up, you're reinforcing the belief that you are resilient and capable. On the other hand, when you break promises or avoid challenges, you're teaching yourself the opposite. Over time, these repeated messages shape your self-perception. This is why it's so important to be intentional about your actions. They're not just affecting your circumstances, they're shaping your identity. It's also important to understand that your actions don't have to be perfect. Nobody gets it right 100% of the time. The key is to strive for progress, not perfection. What matters most is the overall pattern of your behavior. Are you consistently moving in the direction of your goals? Are your actions generally aligned with the person you want to be? Mistakes and setbacks are inevitable, but they don't define you unless you let them. What defines you is how you respond. Do you learn from your failures and keep going, or do you let them derail your progress? Resilience is a crucial part of your identity, and it's built through the actions you take in the face of adversity. Another powerful aspect of actions is their ability to create momentum. When you take one positive action, it often leads to another. For example, deciding to wake up early might lead to a productive morning routine, which sets the tone for a successful day. On the flip side, negative actions can also create momentum in the wrong direction. Skipping one workout might lead to a week of inactivity, which can snowball into a pattern of neglecting your health. This is why small actions matter so much. They might seem insignificant in the moment, but they have a cumulative effect that can either propel you toward your goals or pull you further away from them. It's also worth noting that actions are contagious. The way you behave influences the people around you, and vice versa. If you consistently act with kindness, generosity, and integrity, you're not only reinforcing those qualities in yourself, but also inspiring others to do the same. On the other hand, if your actions are marked by negativity or laziness, that energy can spread as well. This is why it's so important to be mindful of the company you keep. Surround yourself with people whose actions align with the values and goals you aspire to. Their influence will help reinforce your positive behaviors and keep you accountable. Sometimes the hardest part of aligning your actions with your identity is overcoming fear and self-doubt. You might hesitate to take bold actions because you're afraid of failure or rejection. But here's the thing, inaction is also a choice, and it's one that often reinforces fear and doubt. The only way to break the cycle is to take action, even when it's uncomfortable. Courage isn't the absence of fear, it's the willingness to act despite it. Every time you step out of your comfort zone, you're not just achieving a specific goal, you're reshaping your identity as someone who is brave and capable. Over time, the relationship between your actions and your identity becomes a virtuous cycle. The more you act in alignment with your desired identity, the more you believe in yourself. And the more you believe in yourself, the easier it becomes to take actions that reinforce that belief. This cycle creates a powerful sense of momentum and confidence, which can propel you to levels of achievement you never thought possible. Ultimately, the power of your actions lies in their ability to create a sense of ownership over your life. When you take intentional, consistent actions, you're no longer a passive observer of your own story. You become the author, actively shaping the narrative. This sense of agency is incredibly empowering. It reminds you that you're not defined by your circumstances, your past, or other people's opinions. You're defined by what you do every single day. So ask yourself, what do your actions say about who you are? Are they aligned with the person you want to become? Or are they reinforcing a version of yourself that you've outgrown? Remember, it's never too late to change the story. Every moment is an opportunity to make a different choice, to take an action that moves you closer to your true potential. The journey won't always be easy, but it will always be worth it. Because at the end of the day, your actions are your legacy. They are the proof of who you are and the foundation of who you're becoming. The conclusion of your speech should tie together the keynotes and leave the audience with a compelling call to action. Here's a suggestion. Ladies and gentlemen, at the heart of it all lies a simple truth. Who you are is determined not by what you say, but by what you do. Your identity is built moment by moment, decision by decision, action by action. You have the power to shape your life, to redefine your path, and to become the person you aspire to be. Remember, the question isn't who are you today, but who are you becoming tomorrow? Let your actions answer that question loud and clear. Go out there, take control, and prove through every step that you are capable of greatness.